Hey everyone, it's Jack. I have always been a fan of Canada's Drag Race, but something about season 4 has been really special to me. There's a lot to really love about Canada's Drag Race that I think is on full force in season 4. I feel like a lot of people just see it as like an extension of the US, but it really has turned into its own thing as of recent. Season 3 especially was when I really started to notice the style of Canada's Drag Race and all of its strengths. The editing especially is hilarious and probably the highlight of the entire show. Out of any franchise, Canada is really good at forming characters with big personalities. I mean, think about Lemon, Jimbo, Priyanka, Fierce, and now Melinda and some other people from season 4. They're all extremely entertaining on their own, but the edit really pushes them into these amazing characters. But outside of the edit, which is something that not everyone notices, I feel like Canada has been struggling to find a true identity. I mean, all the way back to season 1, I think this will be something that gets its own video soon. They were so scared to make Brooklyn the actual main judge of the show, and even now there's still like remnants of that. It always just feels like there's been this real lack of confidence in the product, which is something that I don't think a lot of the other spin-off franchises really face. Brooklyn as a host has been really great, and while I don't think Brad or Tracy are some of the best main judges, I don't think they're bad by any means. So by the end of season 3, I really sat with the show and was like, yeah, there are so many iconic moments, but for some reason it just doesn't hit as hard as it should. Up until season 4, I guess I was just kind of asking what is going to separate Canada's Drag Race from the rest of the shows. It has so much potential to be the standout spin-off, maybe even surpassing the US at points. But from seasons 1 to 3, I think it's played it more so safe. They know what works about the Drag Race formula and they try to maximize that. That's great, but I know that they had so much potential and it was finally seen in season 4. Down to this opening, which just feels so different. You can see the budget changes in the camera work and where they're trying to do new things. It's dynamic. I think it's great that it opens with Brooke because it gives even more confidence that she is the host. And she brings up the twists of the season, which I think a lot of people can collectively groan over because Drag Race twists have historically not really gone over very well. I think reality show twists in general, especially in a competition format, when you're shaking up the format of the competition, they just don't work. But what Canada 4 has done and has continued to do throughout this season is change it just a little bit. And I think we should just get the main one out of the way. The Golden Beaver is probably the best twist that has been seen on Drag Race because though it doesn't change too much about the format, it changes just enough to make an impact. Also, if y'all enjoy my content, please consider subscribing. I'm trying to go into 2024 really strong and I'm super close to 90k, so if you could help me get there, that would be amazing. For those who aren't watching Canada 4, I highly suggest it, and the twist is the winner of the week's challenge gets to save one of the bottom 3 queens from lip syncing and then the other 2 have to lip sync. And that's basically it for the twist. It's nothing crazy, it's kind of like All Stars, but the ultimate decision for the lip sync is still a lip sync for your life and the judges get to decide it. It's dynamic, it feels like a fresh concept, it's led to alliances and some strategy and some drama. One of the biggest complaints about All Stars formats is that queens who are in the bottom don't really get a chance to fight. At most they can plead their case and that's still present in Canada, but at the end of the day, the bottom 2 are the ones lip syncing and they get to fight. So there's a lot more chance for strategy because you can save a bottom 3 queen who may lose a lip sync to one of the other 2, or save a queen who's going to do well in the competition and have the chance to save you later, or like we saw between Nira and Amy, ask to be in the bottom because you want to lip sync and send the other person home. If this format continues into the next season, I can totally see someone being like, put me in the bottom because I'm confident that I can send her home over this other queen. Very little was changed about the format, but giving the queens just that little bit of power in production, it's led to some of the best drama of 2023 and just kind of in general. It was only around from episodes 2 to 6, and honestly, I could have seen it go even further. But I think it was also smart to cut it off at this point because it gives production just that little bit of control going into the end game. And during lip sync smackdowns, it's always kind of like a halfway point or a transition into the final period of the season. And speaking of changing things around just a little bit, the last episode that aired as of recording this was the lip sync smackdown. And oh my god, they barely changed this format, but it works out so much better than it has in season 14 or 15. How this smackdown worked was a tournament style where 2 queens would lip sync and then the winner of the lip sync would move on to the next round. It's like a lip sync for the crown, but instead at the end it's just for a challenge win. The person who wins the challenge at the end would then get the power to save one of the bottom 4 queens, the person who lost the first lip sync, and the last 3 queens who weren't saved would lip sync and 2 would go home. I have my thoughts on that in just one second. So the queens who are performing the best in the lip syncs get to continue to lip sync to perform even better, as opposed to being rewarded with safety and only us getting to watch them once, and then having to watch the queens who have already lost lip syncs continue to lip sync. Bottom line is that some queens are just better at lip syncing than other queens, and watching those queens over an episode is just more entertaining. And also just on a competition level, queens who lost the first lip sync and then are gonna have to lip sync for their lives, it's just a lot better for them to lose the first lip sync and then get to sit down and relax instead of wasting more and more energy into a third round. They can go all out at the end while people like Jax or Jasmine were so tired by the end. They took the format, changed it just a little bit to reward different people, and suddenly my biggest complaints about SmackDown episodes were completely solved. SmackDown episodes are a constant start and stop, and I think it gets really tedious at points. For season 14, it made more sense because it was uncharted territories and it was going for the dramatics, but by season 15, I was tired of it. I think cutting back to the queens in the workroom, the commentary is great, but I didn't realize how much it could slow down the episode. And having to constantly reveal songs, have queens pick each other for the dramatics, the downtime kills the momentum, but they just got it so perfect here. They first revealed the songs and then had each queen pick a song and then pick an opponent. They were all queued up and then one right after another. It was go, 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 but not too fast to the point where it was hard to follow. These little choices made by Canada 4's production, I am just begging that they adopt them in the US because it's for the better of the show. It was my favorite episode of the season. I think Aurora could have deserved the win, but I also think Nira did a really good job. My only complaint is that I don't think it should have been a double elimination, but obviously they need to keep it on track and they did a double Shantae not too long ago. The lip sync Smackdowns also really feel like they favor younger queens for performance style, but I am happy that they went with a slower song for the final song. It just kind of sucked because it really felt like they were telling the story that Kitten couldn't keep up with the other queens, even though her other lip sync in the season was pretty great. But if you're having people on Twitter saying that a queen was robbed at 7th or 8th place, I mean, that means you're doing a good job showing off these characters and their talents. And speaking of the characters in the cast, I think it's finally time to get into them. One of my favorite casts in a while. I love the Filipina and Asian representation. Kiki has my whole heart. Call Me Mother representation as well. I think Aurora Matrix is my pick overall to win. I'm also free on Saturdays if you want to like hang out or something. The show is really vibing with Venus as well, and I think Venus is great, but something about Aurora's story really speaks to me. Nira is right on Aurora's tail for being one of the best performers of the show. The way she moves to the songs, the slow moments like they pointed out in the lip sync episode, they were just top notch. I love Denim's aesthetic and I love the vocal fry. I feel like Luna and Cece definitely got the shortest ends of the sticks when it comes to showing off their personalities. Seeing Luna on Twitter, I really get her personality now, and I wish that it was showcased a little better, but in Canada's whole energetic edit, it doesn't really match, I guess. The Girlfriend Experience and Kitten are two people that I just want to sit down with. Their edits are really warming to me. I think Amy is a queen that's gonna get like top 4 on a Versus the World series. I hope people have really fallen in love with her. I certainly have. And like I mentioned earlier, the biggest character of the season, the standout star, is Melinda Verga, who, oh my god, I just adore. Everything about Melinda just exudes the Filipina energy that I just feel at all my family gatherings, and it's something that's so authentic to her. And with all of the queens this season, they aren't really afraid to act the way they want to act. They get emotional and they fight, but it all feels like it's for the good of TV. There's just so much to enjoy about this cast, and I think the big thing is that they're all players in their own right. And it might have to do with the fact that it is a smaller cast, but I think that works to its strengths. In a season where saving each other is such a big point of the format, alliances are big and relationships are also really big. So in the edit, you need to establish that, and by establishing these relationships for just the format of the show, it also just makes the cast a lot more dynamic. The web of relationships is being intertwined, and it's only getting more and more complex as the season goes on, and I'm so excited to see how it finishes out. Unlike some of my biggest complaints that I have with like UK, where it feels like they really dropped the ball at the end of the season, I feel like Canada's Drag Race never really drops the ball too much. And even with this insane momentum that they have going, I feel like there's very little they can do to really mess it up. And it all comes back to the edit and establishing everyone's character in a really entertaining way. If Melinda goes right now, it would suck. I really hope that she doesn't, but even then, there's a lot of other characters that you can really enjoy. So I'm really excited to see how it all pans out. I'm so happy that they took this swing and switched up the format just a little bit, because it's worked in such an interesting way and honestly got a lot of people back into Canada's Drag Race. And it seems like production choices in Canada or UK are ways where they can get their feet wet without having to affect the main US show too much. But with how well this twist has gone over, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it in the US for like season 17 or maybe even All Stars, which is great because let's switch up the All Stars format. Hashtag Team Melinda. Thank you guys for watching. Have a happy holidays, and I'll see you soon with another video.